Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And by all means, please head on over to patreon.com/jonathanrector. You can see the links all over the screen, but head on over to Patreon if you're interested in one-on-one Google Hangout sessions. If you'd like a little bit of custom artwork, or maybe you're just interested in my blog posts that I've been updating on Patreon. Exclusively on Patreon, and what those are is they're just like like sketches or doodles or maybe a little bit more elaborate things that I'm drawing. And I usually try to keep like a little bit of it, almost like a journal, just a little brief little description of what's going on, whether it's in art-related life, some things I'm stumbling upon. It's all usually art-related, or just general questions that I like to ask those anyway that are definitely fans and things, what they think, whether it's video game related or if it's productivity or if it's just process or just what cool books you guys reading and stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, head on over to Patreon. You guys can see a whole bunch of links on there. So what we're doing today is I'm actually we're all at the tail end of March. And March for me, I have two projects that I need to wrap up. And we're right in the last stages here for this one project. And this project here is, I don't know if you guys remember, I know it's been a long time, but this is for Frank Martin. He has a comic book called Modern Testament, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, Modern Testament. And this is issue 2. The first one we did, actually, if you go back to my channel, you guys might remember that. I have a process of a cover. And in that, I did like the thumbnails, sent them off, got feedback, and then went from the process. And I documented the whole thing. Even the feedback I got, which I believe there wasn't really any feedback except, yeah, it looks great, go ahead, keep going forward. For the original, for issue 1 anyway, the cover. So check that out. Frank asked me to do the second cover, which we're basically at the end of now. We're just going to be doing the coloring, and I was going to do a lot more of this on my own, but I thought it'd be kind of cool because we don't do too much coloring on the channel here, and it's something I do get asked quite a bit. So I'm going to do my best to get as far along in this process as possible. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot to coloring. Coloring almost gets there's 2 points to it a lot. Same with drawing, but for coloring, I find that there's like it's good to know the stages that people work in. Like if you're a big process junkie like myself, like the stages that you work in, such as like okay, so flats. How do you do the shading and the shadowing and the highlights, color balance? Like what do you do all those things? And that sort of stuff is really cool in a condensed video. The longer ones are usually I find more for people that are interested in technique. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully you guys get a little bit out of all of this here, and I hope you guys are a little interested. I know it's not really drawing, and I know there's a lot of people that are into that, but it's comics, so we're all on the same page. Hello everybody in the chat. Hello V. Hello Noah. Hello Maddie. Welcome back everybody. Inkbot. Nice to see some familiar faces. So what I like to do anyway, we're in Photoshop. And the reason for this is because I'm going to be using a software you guys have seen me fiddle around with a little bit, Color Constructor. And I can't really get it to work too well with Manga Studio. There's nothing wrong with Manga Studio. But in Photoshop, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. So the first thing that I like to do is sort of just block out the shapes. And what flats are, these are flats. I'm sure a lot of people know what they are. But in case you're not, let's do a little rundown. These are your flats, okay? And I have them all on different layers, and the reason why they're different colors is because once we merge all this down, I want to have this all on a layer, so if I click something, it'll only click that layer, or that group of color, okay? And what makes that so important is it's easy to make selections on the fly this way, and color correction and all that good stuff. But when I'm also in there, and this might get a little complicated, this right here. I forget what this is called, but it's almost using this in Manga Studio. It's called like a reference layer. But you can see this little arrow in Photoshop. What that does is if I turn this off, you're gonna see here. You can see in his hair. It's a great example. You see how the color I have for his hair is going outside of his lines. Well, this right here is sort of like the bounding box that I've drawn in this gray. So when I make a new layer and I color and I go crazy out of this, if I hold Alt, I believe there's, in Manga Studio, there's another way of doing it. It looks like a little icon. I don't have it open right now. But pretty much if you hold Alt and you go in between the layers here, you'll see this little arrow down. And if you click that, what it'll do is it'll merge it so that it almost masks, so you can't drop past it. And what that's really helpful for is just this. You can tell like these aren't the colors we're going to be going for, but I wanted to separate them. So when I select them with like my marquee tool, we're not going to have this problem of grabbing a whole bunch of things that we don't need. So I'll show you what we're going to do here. So we're going to make a new layer. We're going to be coloring this guy here. And I just want a different color other than this so that once we get into coloring this, it's easy to just grab these colors. And you'll see what we're going to do with Color Constructor and all that as well. And this isn't, necessarily the final flats. I do know that I want to go in here and add a little bit of shading to some of this stuff, but this is a great launching point. Great way to sort of get the ball rolling on the colors, I find anyway. And unfortunately, flats, that's what this process right here is called, is pretty boring. So I'm sorry you guys have to. You don't have to sit through it, but thank you if you stick around and all that stuff. But by all means, please, if you guys have questions like usual, it'll give us stuff to talk about. I won't be doing too much flats. I tried to get like a good portion of the stuff done, but I wanted to have just this little bit in the beginning here, just so that everybody's up to date as to what we're doing. And how I got here to this stage. Now you can see there's buildings in the background here with a whole bunch of windows and stuff. Again, that's the issue. I don't think we're going to have time to do this whole image because of the background. But we could get very lucky, and I'm being optimistic. Might be able to just sneak an easy way to get there. And even for buildings, because there's a lot of like straight lines, they're not really organic shapes, at least the way I draw these backgrounds, especially cityscapes, that it doesn't really matter too much, because we've got the awesome magic wand tool, and that thing can select a lot of that for us. Whereas like in this area here with these horns, it's very, there's a lot going on. It's pretty busy. There's a lot of little nicks and cracks and rendering and stuff going on. And it makes it very difficult to select it with the magic wand tool. There's a lot of shift clicking. You can totally do it. I don't prefer it. I prefer just doing what we're doing right here. I'll sort of be making just like a selection within a selection. Right? So think of it like you're drawing, you're making a coloring book, and even though this line right here is green, I'm not going to draw outside those lines. So now you'll see I'll use my magic wand tool and make sure sample all layers here is turned off. So when I select, it'll just go into here because all that's on that layer is actually the green one because I have it on a separate layer there. We can just fill it. And it just makes making these fills a little quicker. A little quicker. Little's asking, I don't know if they're just asking me or anybody, everybody in the chat, are you watching any anime this season from last season? No, I don't really watch much anime. I talk all the time about wishing I could watch more. I'm not quite sure why. I don't really, I guess, like watching anime. I love the action and I want to watch more of it because I want to bring that stuff into comic book work. But for whatever reason, I find it a little hard to watch anime. I really love manga, but unfortunately not. I think I was trying to watch Attack on Titan. And what I find too, I don't know if you guys get like this, but if I know there's an anime, right? And it's popular, but I know there's a manga, I usually go to the manga first. And I've already told this story, especially about Attack on Titan. So that's exactly what I did because I heard it was getting very popular. Last year it was huge for it. And I went and I got the manga, and I'm an artist, so I enjoy art. I don't know if I say I enjoy art more than story, but it depends on what it is. And I don't like to just, judge stuff by the art. I think it's a really horrible thing to do because there are tons of books or stories that I really love, and the art's not necessarily something that I would gravitate right out the crack to. But unfortunately, Attack on Titan, it was like the art didn't draw me in, and it was very, it took me out of the horror aspect of it. There's some creepy things that happen for sure. For those familiar with the first volume, you know what I'm talking about. And all that stuff, it didn't hook me. Whereas I watched the first episode, I believe I just watched the first maybe 2 episodes of the anime, and it was like, wow, this is night and day. This is way better. I felt more involved in that world than I did in the comic. But then I didn't end up watching it, and I don't know why. I think I went back and forth. I was like, well, I enjoy the anime so much. I gotta give it another shot. I gotta give the manga another shot. Look past the flaws that I see in the artwork. Um, just keep going, and just never did. I find reading manga is very much like reading novels. They're very easy to get. There's a lot of it. And if something doesn't grab you, if you don't stick with something, or if you start losing interest, it's almost like, okay, well, put the book down and go grab go grab another one. It's like that fast to grab that stuff. Inkbot, John, I've been meaning to ask, what's your opinion on submitting a comic idea to Image Comics? I've been looking at their submissions info, and I'm thinking of submitting in addition to going on Patreon. Oh, there's supposed to be. Hey, Jefferson, what's my opinion? Well, I think any what's the word? There was a word I'm looking for, and I can't think of it right now. But if there's anybody that's trying to support comics, then it's a good thing. The details of what they offer is based on the individual. So some people might look at Image and go, yeah, they're awesome publisher. It's nice to be published, but I don't like the guidelines, or I don't like how much money they take, or I don't like the paper that they print on. There could be a whole bunch of things. But I think anybody that's willing to publish comics is good. And then again, it comes up to the individual of the business side of it. If you agree with all that stuff. Now in saying all that, I've worked on a few projects that got pitched to Image, and this is going back to maybe like early 2000s, around there. And back then, I mean that like it was the heyday of indie comic work for me anyway, because I would get emails every 2 weeks. I mean, this is like very fortunate, obviously, and I don't mean any of this stuff in a nose up in the air. Like, of course, people came to me. Not like that. I just mean it was sort of like the heyday for me that I vividly remember because of the amount of content that people were coming to me for. And with, which was awesome. So like every 2 to 4 weeks, I would always get a new proposal, and people were only hiring. And I noticed a lot of people were doing this. They were just hiring artists for like 5 pages in a cover, maybe some concept art of like characters and stuff. That was it. That was it. And that's because Image, and I believe Image is the same still. I haven't really gone too far into it. But all they needed, they just wanted a pitch. Like, pitch us what the comic looks like, and the script, and what you got. What's the story about? It's a pitch, right? So instead of investing all this money into like a 22-page book or like an entire graphic novel and then trying to get it published, what a lot of people were doing was that's exactly it. They would hire artists. Some art like imagine this, okay? So some writers would have maybe like 5 to 10 stories in their head at any time, and all they had to do was get enough money together to get an artist for each of those books if they would agree to the price, the page rate, which wasn't high. And they could just submit like a crap load to Image, sort of like throwing two handfuls of darts at a dartboard. One of them's bound to stick, right? That's the idea. So there was a lot of that. It was just like I was drawing stuff that didn't make sense. It was horrible artwork and all that things, but people just wanted comic pages done because that's what was needed. I know that really doesn't answer your question at all, but I just wanted to tell that story because it's interesting. As an artist, even for those of you that are in this chat or whatever, or watching this on YouTube, be on the lookout for that. Like I know the one website, and I believe they still do it. Maybe it's not as regular anymore. It was definitely Digital Webbing, and I don't know if it's still around. Pencil Jack. They're old school message boards. I know Digital Webbing's still around, and they're always looking for artists. But I think nowadays it's mostly like graphic novels is what people are looking to hire for, not really floppies anymore. And this sort of bounces back into what you were asking there about Patreon. And I agree 100% with this. That yeah, totally. Look at publishers. Why not? Why wouldn't you look at a publisher? Take a look at their platform. See if it's something that's interesting to you. Like, take a look at the kind of books that they sell. Is a book you're doing, is it popular right now? Is there a lot of people interested in that sort of thing? might be a great place to publish to. You know, like image is one thing, but let's say you have a superhero book that's based on kids, like Power Rangers. Maybe Scholastic is a place to try. You know, these places like that. Try to see how it works. You sort of have your pick now. Instead of just throwing it to every single publisher, you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. You totally could. You might want to do that, or you might even, you probably should do that. But with Patreon anyway, you can kind of skip all that if you wanted to as well, and you can find your niche audience just by word of mouth, doing all the advertising yourself, and that's not a bad gig. It's not a bad gig. I would recommend Patreon for sure. It's a great resource. I don't know why people wouldn't use it. It does take a little bit of time to sort of understand it. Tyler James of Comics Tribe. He's got a wonderful podcast and tons of videos online talking about what to think about when you go and start a Patreon campaign. So definitely check that out. It's a resource. There's no reason not to use it, right? I think it's a positive thing, absolutely. Just catching up with you guys are saying here. Let me just say this. We're going to the flats are pretty much done. I might go into a little bit more and do some more, but you see I have all these layers here. Let me just merge this. I just want to make sure I answer your guys' questions here in a second. I'm gonna select all these. I'm gonna merge them together, right? So that's our flats layer. So now theoretically I can just use my wand tool, right? And even when, check this out, like, so while I'm on this layer up here, as long as I have my flats layer selected, I can select all just like the yellow, you know? And if we wanted to change it, maybe we want to go green with it, you know, and there you go. You can see how fast something like that is. And that's the point of the flats layer. You can always go back, excuse me, and grab the color you need. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Color Constructor. I'm going to show you guys why I'm going to use that. And I've been a huge fan of it. And I can't wait to use more of it, especially on Jessup King. What else was I going to show? We're going to do that. And then we're going to get first we're going to get the right flats on here. And then we're going to color adjust it with Color Corrector. I have read Vagabond. I believe I'm on the 3rd volume. Or maybe, I don't know if I've read it. I'm looking at it right now. But the art in that is, oh man, phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Inkbot, yeah, that pretty much sounds pretty much like what they're saying now. They want an idea of what you're aiming to do. What I like is that the state outright that whatever they publish, the creator still owns it. Yeah, that's one of the huge things about Image. Absolutely. Little Monkey, is there any reason why you are using colors for flats and then using the magic wand to fill instead of using the selection tool for the whole and then fill it? I don't know what the selection tool is. This wand tool that I've used, I mean, this is something that's been around since like 1998. That's what I'm used to using. It's funny because we're going to actually make a new layer on top of this with the correct flats that I want. And I guess it's sort of like the idea of always working on what we have, so that we have, I always have a stage I can go back to, I suppose I could say. But yeah, totally tell me a little bit more of what you're talking about, Little Monkey. I'm not too familiar with that, and if it helps, it helps. Absolutely, thank you. Aristocrato. Are you using pre-made paths for those building faces? If so, where did you get them? Yes, I am. These paths here, I made a whole bunch of them myself. I'll actually open them up here to show you guys. And if you guys head on over to Freddie Art, how could we have a stream without talking about Freddie Williams, the author of the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics? He offers building faces that you can purchase, and I bought some off him as well. I figured I used to do this thing. I told this story a long, long time ago of when I was working on the standard, and what I would do is pretty much every day for, I want to say a month anyway, I would spend an hour trying to build a building face. And I figured, if I could get 10 or so a month, I'd be able to build up a pretty robust library, that sort of stuff like that. Where am I going here? There we go. So that's what I ended up doing with that. But then I saw Freddie also had his, and I just like, I don't know if I should buy it because it's kind of like whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, why wouldn't I? I believe it's still pretty cheap, even if it's under 20 bucks. The amount of time it saved me has been awesome. So let me just zoom in here so you can kind of see. These are the ones here that Freddie sells, and you can see what's awesome. And if you guys don't understand how paths work, It's one of the best features. Well, not the best, but it was a an eye-opening and almost crippling thing that I learned when I bought and read the DC Comics guide there that I just talked about. Because once I learned this stage here, I almost never wanted to custom draw buildings ever again. I never found a reason to. I could go ahead and adjust things, but this is such a powerful tool to just quickly build up a city in a fraction of the time. So these are just like a selection of the ones that I made myself. You can see there's a whole bunch here. Some are a little bit more, I don't want to say they're more detailed than what Freddie had, but you know, they're a little bit more elaborate. Some scenes, some things that I needed, and they're all custom, right? Like you should make some stuff your own, and it's really not that hard once you start learning how to use it. Obviously, everything becomes a little bit easier. These are just some random textures, so bricks that I can have. This is sort of like the siding right here of a building, like the inlaid bricks. These I use a lot of times whenever I'm making bookshelves. You know, I can just copy these and paste a whole bunch in. Some fences. I thought I had more, but I guess I just have the one. Then there's a grid. I don't know if I have it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you guys might remember this. So the Superman logo. If I ever draw Superman, I can just use this. I don't ever have to really draw it myself. You know, you don't always have to do this, but it makes it pretty stand out. The S here is the standard for when I was working on the book, and then this one's the skunk. He was another character that was in there. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out past. I'm not going to show you guys right now, just because again, deadlines, real life stuff. But you can check my channel. You can check Freddie. I believe it's Freddie Art here on YouTube. Check out his channel. He goes through even how to do it as well. So check it out, guys. You guys might dig it. Hey Matthew, uh, Key Guy. Hopefully I said your name. Hey Jar, second live screen, able to jump in. Long time watcher. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I wonder, is there a way to implement that stuff in a Clip Studio Clip Studio Paint Manga Studio? I don't know. I don't think so. I know some people they have like lines already done and then they do it, but it's not the same. I'm not again. I don't think Manga Studio right now has it, but I'm not sure. What I do is I do it in Photoshop and then I just copy that image like that layer and then just paste it in the Manga Studio document. John, do you always do your coloring in Photoshop? Just draw Manga Studio? No, I do color in Manga Studio, but it's just been quicker for right now. For what I had to do, this made more sense. I'm going to show you guys why, because I'm going to use a piece of software and I need these numbers right here, these hex keys, and I don't know how to get them just yet in Manga Studio, and I haven't had the time, or I haven't taken the time to look for them just yet. Little Monkey, I'm not sure if the selection tool is on Photoshop, but it's in Manga Studio. In the white with the lasso tool set, there's a selection pen and eraser. Oh, I think I know what you're just talking about. Okay. No, I mean the wand does the exact same thing. Maybe you'll see it as we go. But again, whatever works for you guys, totally just stick with that. Little Monkey, you just blew my mind with the building. It makes sense. Awesome. Okay, you can see it right here. And I'm talking fast because I'm trying to go through these because I want to show you guys some more stuff. But yeah, so you can see this building path over here. Actually, here, I can do this. You guys can see a little bit better. Check this out. This is really cool. Let me just open up Manga Studio. Hopefully this doesn't blow up the stream. These are pretty big. Where we got lines. So here, I'll show you guys the line art. Okay, so this is the line art here. You can see the ink guy. Excuse me. I'm not going to open up a bunch of files. I just want to show you. But the buildings in the background, I did those in Photoshop, and then again pasted them in here. But if I turn off these characters, this is what's really powerful, right? Like I still have these backgrounds in here. It's almost like I've already drawn a full background, and I don't do this all the time, but a majority of the time I do this as well, because you never know, right? Like this guy, he looks good here, but maybe I want him moved around. And sometimes, and I don't recommend doing this all the time, but you can totally use these backgrounds over and over again. You don't I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but it's always nice to be able to do it. And by saving versions of a file, like your line art in this stage, it's powerful. It's absolutely powerful. And it blocks out the background, right? It's an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool to be able to do that. And I just wanted to show you guys this so you could see, like, this is one face of the building with the path on it. This is another face with another one. This one I botched obviously, because you can see the lines go straight here. The lines go like this, and then they're down here when it should be over here. I figured it didn't really matter because I knew there's going to be a character over there and stuff, so I didn't get too nitpicky with it. So let's close this up here. Let's get some forward momentum here. Let's keep this going. All right, so I'm gonna make a new layer. This one, we don't even need to label it. Okay, I just need to look at my reference file so I can see the colors for these characters. Let's close this up because we're not going to need you. All right, so this guy, let's get his skin color here. So I'm going to select all the stuff here that's going to be skin. So we're going to make a new layer, and he's kind of got a tan. Maybe something like that. Right. Actually, sorry, I deleted this. I need this. Okay, so I use this small Cintiq, the Cintiq 12WX. It's not an HD display. So my monitor, the colors are different than what they'll actually end up being. So I have to, whenever I do color, kind of sucks because I have to go back and forth like that. But you know, there's bigger problems that we'll always have. So let's go ahead. We're going to select his eyebrows here. Again, go back to that same layer. And he's kind of got like a dirty blonde kind of hair color. So what I'm doing right now, again, this is the flats. So if Superman's got blue, red, and yellow, they're always like generally the same tone. So you can save your colors flats. For Jessup King, I've showed you guys that before as well. I have his on his own thing. So whenever I color, I've already got these already done. It just saves a bunch of time. So we got like an orange shirt. Now you can notice here, I'm trying not to go, like there's all this range in here of color. Don't always just go up here. I know superheroes, they can tend to be like more, or like video gamey, cartoony Mario Brothers kind of stuff is like up this way. But you're missing a lot of range if you don't play around in here. Okay, I want to point that out to you guys there. So let's go ahead and get his pantalon. This one's yellow as well, but I don't want it to be too bright. Yeah, maybe actually we do want it to be a little brighter. Yeah, it's better. Okay, we're gonna his little boots, his little loafers. They're pretty much brown, and I know you guys can't see this on the side, so bear with me. Actually, we're gonna go a little darker, less saturated. And this side is going to be the one that's a little bit more saturated. Cool. The dark gray actually works on there, so that's fine. Now his glasses, what are these? They're white. And as a rule of thumb, never go white. If something's white, there's always another color. Like watch this. This is like a bluish color. But do you see how it looks? It could be looked at as white, you know, and that's just because of the color surrounding it really affects how the light will look. And here I'm just gonna go down about here because again, if I use just white on these things, it makes it very hard to get like an actual highlight, you know, and we're gonna want that. That's why you never go white because you always want to have room for highlights. And his mouth actually will bring in a little bit of red. See how that looks. Okay, we'll save it up. Don't want to lose nothing. The orange and white works, dude. April on. Yeah, CYMK. I actually never do it in that. Uh, I I get mixed results to be honest. But I usually end up. Sometimes I will at the end. I'll do it as CMYK instead of. I don't like to work in CYMK just because it does that, and I know that it's a horrible habit that I'm doing because it'll always screw you up. More often than not, it'll end up screwing you up in the end because your colors are gonna get all out of whack. Whoops. So let's go ahead and get all these little bits down here. Just doing this guy back here. Cool. This guy's pretty simple. He's just like a mud monster. So he's like a a brownish green kind of thing. So I'm gonna go around here. I don't want to go too hot. Like I just don't want him to mix with this guy, and I want these guys to pop. You know, like I want them to separate. I don't want them to look like they're on the same thing. So one other thing, I should actually do it now. I didn't do it yet. Is I'll make a black and white correction layer over top of stuff. And I'll do this in Manga Studio as well. But what this does is right away you can see, like, if I turn this off, like, okay, yeah, this guy does pop over this background and stuff. But the problem is if you switch it to black, like, it's pretty much the same shade of gray in here. Sure, it's a little lighter, but like that's a problem. That's a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust that after, but I'm definitely going to adjust it. And I just wanted to point that out to you guys so you guys can kind of see it. Now this dude here is, I believe he's purple, or different shades of purple. Might be missing some pieces. That's okay. So we're gonna go into the purple again. I want to keep this guy pretty tame. Cool. And we're gonna go ahead and get all those little horns. This part can be a little tedious because you're selecting all these little things. And I mean, I am zoomed out, so it's not helping anybody. Even if we just get these guys done, I just want to show you guys the color corrector again. If you guys haven't seen it, I do have a video on my channel you guys can check out about it. And there's a couple other artists that have it as well. And they're showing how to use it in like a traditional painting. I'm trying to use it more and more just so I become, you know, more accustomed to it. But it's been pretty powerful, especially with lighting and stuff. And I'll show it to you guys. It's I don't know. I dig it. I think it's pretty exciting. So these things are kind of yellowish horns. So actually, I'm gonna go to the green, and because of the magic of color, like they look yellow, don't they? They look a little yellowish. This almost looks like Skeletor's, whatever the name of that cat is that he that he rides on. Have you tried having your flats on different layers using the hue saturation adjust? Yes, I have done that before. I go back and forth. Sometimes I like the reason why I do like having all the flats on one layer here is it just makes the file sizes smaller. I've noticed, and it's a little bit that way. It's a little less intense, at least for my computer anyway. I'm sure it doesn't really matter too much. So you can select the same color and just to make the horns pop a little bit more. And of course he's gonna have red eyes, so gotta give him his red eyes. But we're not gonna go pure red. We're gonna go down here because I want that range, right? I want to be able to make them pop eventually. So that's good. What color is his nose? Probably a little black kind of nose. It's funny how color works, man. The more you guys dig into this stuff, the more it's like, I don't know, it's you can have colors in there that you don't think make sense. Like again, these might look like it now, but like these are supposed to be yellow or green, right? Like look at they're green, and they almost look a little like whitish yellow, but it's not even close. And that's just because of the way that the color flows on them, you know. Maddie, just unclick continuous, and it will save all those little bits as long. Oh, really? Okay, I'll definitely try that out. Thank you. Oh, let's try it. See if it works here. Kind of worked, but now I'm getting other things selected. I'll have to play around with that a little bit more. Thank you, though. Okay, so this guy's pretty much colored as well. Now we need to get the background. You know, the background, this one, you know, these are always whatever. There's buildings and stuff, but no, no, no. So I'm going to keep that one selected, but this is where I'm going to just do this one right now. So I want these guys to pop on here, so maybe, no, it should be a little darker, maybe, I don't know, let's try this out. I just want to see how this looks. Nah, it's too dark. Not sure how I feel about that just yet. Maybe here we'll go into like the reds. And I sort of want to, I'm trying to like push these colors a little bit more into the back now. You know, like trying to get like that, things are starting to fade into blue because of the atmosphere. Right? So maybe this building's, I don't know. I guess we're going to go with the warm buildings here. See, this is a daylight thing as well. You can always change all this stuff. Nothing's final. Maybe we could bring it up a little bit more just to get these buildings back here. And the sky, I don't know what color we're gonna do this. Most likely just blue. It's a daylight shot, so it's nothing too drastic. Yeah, like it's, I don't know. It kind of has, I don't know. It's kind of boring to be honest right now, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, okay. Thank you. Experimenting and look at this. It's already like 8:40. Show's almost done. My God. Show always goes way too quick. Always goes way too quick. Okay, so I have all this stuff here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up our program here, and you can actually buy this program. If what you see here, uh, you know, really gets you excited for color, if you haven't seen this program before, it's available for purchase on Gumroad. Just search Color Constructor. I believe it's like $7, and for what it is, some people might go, it's kind of whatever. For me personally, I think it's boss. I think it's pretty sick. So what I'm trying to do here is get the basic colors of what we're going to be working on. What's the scene look like, right? So for the light, like I said, I want it. Maybe it's not just noon just yet, so I'm still getting used to how this sort of works. So the sun's out, right? So let's get some yellowish orange. So you start going in here, it's starting to get in the sunset. So maybe I'm not 100% with this stuff yet. I'm still learning it, but so maybe we'll just a subtle daylight kind of look there. But then I want the blue for sure. Right. And we can play with the light intensity, like how bright things are. Like it's pretty blown out if the sun's out here. I'm just trying to play around with this just a little bit. I kind of like that. You can also even do this thing here too. Where is it? Yeah, you can get like a secondary light source. We're not going to do that, but like maybe if there was, I don't know what the hell the green would be for, but like a light bouncing off something. No, we don't need a secondary light. It's too bright outside for this. So just go to 1. Okay, so now that we have this, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our swatches. And I'm actually going to, I'll show you what this looks like, and then I'm just going to do it off screen. So you guys can check it out. So we're going to start with this guy. Start with this jerk right here. So let me just turn the flats off here. So, and what's going to happen, and this might be the part where it's like, now you're doing extra work. Yeah, I agree, but it adds something to the color harmony with everything before we play around a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking for right here, this key right here. That's this guy's skin color, right? So cut that. And up here, I'm just going to put in the new hex key up there. So this is where it gets weird, and I'm going to have to adjust a little bit, but the idea is not to always do this, but you can see this is the color I've already had for his skin, but look at, because of the lighting situation I have, it's all blown out. It's almost like the light is right in his face. So I'm actually going to bring that down, and one of the things I remember hearing anyway is what you don't want to do is adjust the lighting to make this look right. What you want to do instead is have the lighting be right, and that's how it would actually look with these colors in there. So it still looks like white like a ghost, and I am sort of going against what I just said here just a little bit because if his skin color is starting to look a little like I don't want him white. I don't want his skin looking like that. All right, so let's just see what happens when we start bringing in the sun a little bit more. So it's starting to look like nighttime. Maybe if the sun is just pure white. No, we don't want pure white sun. It's silly. And you could slide with this stuff for days. Okay, so let's keep this going and we'll see how this ends up looking. So we got that. Let's get his goofy hair. His Ken Masters haircut. So put it over here. So let's take a look what yellow looks like. Alright, yellow's starting to go. It's funny because we got the blue, remember? The blue coming in here. It's making the shadows look almost green. That's kind of funny. And we'll get his shirt. See how orange looks. Alright. What other colors got? His pants. What's really cool about this, especially if you're a colorist in a comic book, I would assume, and again, I'm going to be using Jessup King as an example for this, is once you can actually load in SWAT like a preset, like Jessup King. I have him in here, right? But what's really cool about that is once I have that, I can always just adjust the colors for the scene. If they're in like the Arctic or if they're in like like a lava place kind of thing. There's two shades here with his shoes. I'm just gonna use this one. He's got a lot of yellow actually. Plus object. All right, so this is actually looking. I don't, so this is how the colors would normally look. Let's just. I think I'm going too dark. Like I'm going too saturated with this. Yeah, we'll try that out. So we got skin. I'm just gonna label these up here. I know this is gonna be pretty boring for you guys. Sorry. Um, Pants. Shirt. Okay, and then the next thing I do here, just to save some time. Actually, check this out. We can save the light. I'm just gonna put this as. Okay, cool. There's like preset lights. Like this is what this would look like in these different conditions, which is actually really cool. Moonlight. Look what your skin looks like. It starts to get blue. These are like the default ones. They actually look pretty good. It's a strong room light. And this is really slick. I like this a lot when you start seeing this stuff because you can see what it would look like, right? Like if your character is like a thief or something in the shadows, you have like this hard, what's it called? Hard like rim light behind everything. John, can you send me your pencils and Patreon? I believe if you're already a patron, there's a link that gets sent to you. If not, just take a quick look on my Patreon pages. They're definitely there for download. Oh, so thanks, guy. You're on it as well. Sunset gets real weird. Things are getting real saturated. Warm light. So let's go back to what we had. All right, so it's cool. What's awesome is we can hit here swatches, and it'll already like print out your swatches. If I just want like 2-color swatch, 3, 5. But what I really want is it's not necessarily the highlight and the shadow color. It's almost like this. I just want a little bit of range in here because we're going to go back to that black and white like I showed you, and The shadow color I tend to use is a little bit of a different one, so maybe it's inappropriate to use one of these things here. So I use this other piece of software. You can save this out, but I just find this a little easier. It's called Snipping Tool for what's it called? PCs anyway. You can just make a quick screenshot. Because this pops up, I can just go Control C to copy it. That's why I like it anyway. So I come back in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna paste it. Okay, so here's our swatches. Awesome. Oops. I'm gonna put this above everything here. So let's go ahead. Let's change this up here. So I'm gonna select his skin, his flesh, and I believe it was like even in here, which is kind of weird. Right? Like it almost looks like he's pale now. And it's so weird how this just all of a sudden clicks. I know it's hard to imagine right now. Like things are looking like I'm desaturating the hell out of everything. But once everything in this thing has this light applied to it, it is a little extra work. I will admit that, especially when you're doing, like if you're painting, this might not be a problem. But when you're working like this, it feels like you're doing little extra steps. You're like tiptoeing around things. Like you're always filling in, all these little spots. So we have this. I'm just going to cheat this a little bit and darken it just a tad for those guys. And we had a dark gray. For whatever reason, it didn't fill in here. Okay. So let's get this next dude here. So this is the color we're going with. We're going to use that. Cool. And where's it? Color Constructor. I don't need this guy anymore. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to, that's what that would look like in these conditions. It's hard to see this stuff. Oh. Is this where Photoshop dies? Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, you might be right. Okay, so yeah, Photoshop just crapped out. So we're gonna have to close that. That's the way she goes. One of the definite pros for using Photoshop, absolutely. Garbage. You know what it is? I think too. I think this is still a 600 DPI image. That's my fault. Coloring at 600 DPI. I've never had a computer that was able to do that. I'll draw at 600, but let's just open it up and take a look. I'm gonna try that fill thing you guys are talking about too. Thank you. I for whatever reason I'm getting that habit, of just coloring like that. And this is always the scary part. It's always like, well, how far back did I not save? And then did it corrupt the whole thing when it's so what do we have here? Let's see how far back. Oh, okay, at least we've got the colors here. I just bought this computer. Let's see here. I don't know anything about computers here. So it's an Intel Core i3 4160, whatever that means. DDR3, 8 gigs of RAM. I think I might need to one day get a new video card. It's probably the video card that's crapping out here. So let's just take a look here. Image size. And this is probably going to be, yeah, it's still 600 DPI. So let's bring it down to 400 or 450. Yeah, we'll try 450. I've actually had it before, This is how unreal this is. Where the file would be like 600 DPI, right? And then you go to resize it and it crashes. And you're like, well, what do I do? I can't resize anything. I'm just going to renumber this just because. All right, so we're actually going to try that thing you guys are suggesting. Thank you again for that. I just need to get this guy's skin color back. And we're going to plop it back in here. Cool. Copy back into Photoshop. All right, let's try it out. Was it G for fill? Paint bucket tool. All right, let's see what happens here. So where's the skin color? Right here. Oh, baby. Thank you so much. I totally forgot about this. Oh, that's so much faster. This is the best part is like all that work I was doing before. It's to be able to do this right right here. This is the whole reason why to do it. So you can just fill it so fast. Thank you. Jeez, how silly was I? It's an i3 dash 4160. Yeah, it's DDR3, 8 gigs of RAM. I just bought this actually recently too. This was actually a tremendous upgrade over my last computer. But I'm not a guy that likes to spend. It's funny. I don't know if anybody else is like this. I like getting new toys and stuff. Um, but there's like a price point that we all like to hit. You know, like so I'll get a Cintiq, but my computer that I need to actually run the Cintiq, that's what I skimp on. And then, you wonder why it's like, "Oh, why the hell isn't this as cool as it should be?" Well, you skimped on the actual device, bro. It's like wondering why your video games don't work and you have last gen system. Yeah, thank you for this. I just didn't even think about the paint bucket tool. It's changing everything here. So you can see like everything's starting to get like this tone, like it's almost desaturated, which is great because like at first it might feel like, ugh, what this is poop, like this is garbage town. But what it's doing is it's harmonizing the colors, which is great, and then I can still do this after. And I would normally do this stuff anyway, all at one time. But I find that like let's like this purple's looking nice and bluish, I should say. And it's just the colors are making a little bit more sense. And again, I can understand why this might seem like an added step, or it might seem like too much work. Again, personally, I just find that this adds just something to the colors that I'm not able, or at least I wasn't able to get on my own. And again, that is most likely because I'm uneducated when it comes to understanding color as much as I should. I spent a lot of time doing line art and trying to figure that stuff out. Where there's a lot of like, I talked to a few. I have a few art buddies and they're digital painters, and they just blow. I'm not just comparing myself to them, but they just what they do with color is just like wow. Like I understand the concepts, but the way you're able to blend and stuff is just insane. Good job. Like it looks awesome. But then when they try to do figure work, like something that like that I've done a lot of, they go about it in like a roundabout way, pretty much like what I'm doing right now, And I find it funny that like painting and stuff like that, it all comes up with a different look. So you can see right now how cool this kind of looks, right? Like now we're getting into some different ranges. One thing I want to do here with you guys, because I'm going to just do this on my own here, I'm going to copy his skin. There's a little note that I had from client here that he's got different shades of purple. Right, so we're going to go here, and I'm just going to add maybe a little bit more blue. Yeah, maybe we'll go this way with it. A little more red. just to have a little bit more range. Let me put it in here. So I'm gonna put skin 2 here, and it's getting really like muddied here. There's a lot going on because I'm using it on the small Cintiq. It's hard to see what's going on here. So this one's Bighorn or Big Herb, I guess, and this one's Small Herbs. Nose, and this one. What was this? Eyes. That's what it was. And you can see like updates real time right here for our swatches, which is great with the label on it. And also what's really cool is like even if you just took the time to figure out these swatches here, which this is what I've been doing with Jessup, is I'll just take this stuff, you can export just these swatches and just bring that in your document. You don't ever have to worry about it. Your colors will always harmonize. They'll always work together, which is great. We're gonna save right now just in case. You could have a high-end graphics card and your machine could still bottle. Okay, you can only do 2 things at once. Oh, I got you. Okay, that's fair. So if I have more things open in the background and stuff, it's just pooping all over this thing. Makes sense. All right, so let's try to. Okay, so what do we got here? Skin 1. We're going with this middle tone. Let's just go ahead and fill this all in. Oops. And small horn. See, it's mixing with the background there, so what I have to do is wand tool these guys here. Because that background building is so close to the same gray. And eyes. Such a subtle difference to this stuff too. Okay, so I got to get this second tone of skin. So what I'm going to do is grab, what brush are we using? Nope. I'm just going to put little blotches, like kind of like a little bit of a pattern in there. Well, sorry you guys, this show's pretty much done now. I was hoping to get much further along, but that's what happens when I find, at least the way I work with this stuff, there's like so much prep work before you get in there and start adding your shading and your rendering and all that stuff like that. But anyway, I want to say thank you guys. I hope at least there's, again, I know there's no fancy artwork or nothing really dramatic happening here, but I hope you guys had a good time anyway. And again, check out Color Corrector. Check out there's other videos online of, well, a few videos. I think there should definitely be more videos than there currently are. But yeah, check them out. If you're looking to color your comic books and stuff, or just get a better understanding, I feel like I've grown a little bit more based on just fiddling with that program and applying it to comic book stuff. I'm not like I'm not trying to sell the product, but I think just what you saw, there was definitely some pros there, but it might seem like it slows things down. I think when it's a long-term thing, like you could set up a lighting scheme for like. A club, let's say, right? And whenever you need to do that lighting scene, it's your club lighting's already done. You just plug in the colors that you would normally do. And you don't have to do every single color, right? You can go ahead and you can totally just pick and choose colors and stuff and work from it that way too. But anyway, check it out. See what you guys think about it and all that good stuff. And with all that, I want to say again, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody that came in here and all your chats, all your support, all that stuff. Awesome. I really do appreciate it. If you guys wanted to, head on over to patreon.com, check that out as well. And if you don't have any, money to throw at me, it always sounds weird saying that. Thank you anyway. But if you could, please, just sharing the videos around, leaving feedback and comments, all that stuff goes a long way. I really do appreciate it. And it helps me stay in contact with you guys. And please, I encourage you guys to ask. I know these long streams, more often than not, people don't watch these as they would like a shorter video, which is totally understandable. But if you're making it all the way through here, let me know in the comments saying like you made it all the way through, or better yet, even what kind of content you'd like as well, for either just streams or just future videos. Last thing I'll leave you guys with is next Wednesday anyway, is April. So that means it's a critique show. So if you guys have some art that you'd like critique, by all means, get it ready, send it over, or show up on the stream, and we can do it then. Or if you can't make it, please send me an email with the artwork that you'd like critiqued, with a description or some information about what it is that you're looking to get help with. And if I'm able to help you, I'll do my best to do so. So thank you guys. I will see you guys very soon. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.